Alright, so we're back on the 2016 Hyundai Veloster. Today we're going to be flushing the brake system and replacing the brake fluid with some .4 racing brake fluid and going to some braided brake lines. So first I'm going to knock the wheels off of this thing real quick, and then I will start the bleeding process. So you can see how much rubber is moving to the side from the track day. You can see it rolling up here. So I'll rotate this to the front, and that should make it smooth back out. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to loosen this cap for the brakes, because we're going to use vacuum to suck it out. We're just going to pull that cap, let it sit there. The other thing you're going to need is a tin. That will open the bleeder valve on all the brake calipers. So we're going to start at the farthest one first, and let me get the vacuum set up and we'll get that running. Alright, so the first thing I did was pop off the dust cover. I'm going to just give this an easy crack here. There it goes. Okay. Now we'll put our end on, and it's probably not going to be a lot, and it's going to be loud. So I'm going to go ahead and just open this valve up now that the hose is on there, and let's see what we get. Oh, there we go. Got our first drip through there. Let's open this up a little bit more. There it goes. Alright. I don't know if you can see that, but the bubbles are sucking through. The bubbles are because this is not tight, but it's what it takes to get that to move. So it's going to slowly fill our container. We definitely have a crack here, so this is really loud. Alright, this is going to take a minute. So I also am upgrading my brake lines to these braided ones. Not sure what actual brand they are. I believe these came from Pierce Motorsports. I ordered them through KDM Tuning. They look like Gaffer, possible some other brand. But yeah, so you pay about 180 bucks for these. No instructions, and there are two different ones. There's a front one which is a little longer and it has the end on it, and then the rear one comes like that, and then it also comes with an end like this. I've already put the passenger side rear on, started. What I did do is completely drain the brake system so that there's no fluid in it whatsoever. So when I put the new lines on, when I go through the calipers, it will all be fresh .4. So that's where we're at. So the next thing here is I'm going to go ahead and hook up this brake line to the caliper. It's got new crush washers that come in the kit. There they are. So that will all go on. Once I get that on and tighten down, I will tighten down this jam nut. This way I can get the right angle, because it is a little weird, and you do have to clear your parking brake in the back, because the stock one has this big hook on it, so that's what they're compensating for. So, alright, so the next step, I'm going to finish getting that hooked up, and then I'll be back. Alright, so as you can see, I've got it in, I've got it on. This is still a little bit loose, so do not reuse the copper washers that came off here. These are really one-time use. They get deformed a little bit. They will never seat properly again. I've seen people reuse them. I've seen all sorts of problems, and each brake line has two. So you'll have the bolt, the crush washer, the fitting, another crush washer, and that. So there's no washers or gaskets in this fitting. This is a hydraulic fitting, so once this is tight, there won't be a leak. So we'll tighten this down. We'll tighten this down. It looks like I've got some good clearance here, so I'm not going to worry about that too much. And I guess I could go in and operate the emergency brake just to make sure I don't hit it, but I believe that should give me plenty enough room. Alright, so I'm going to go around all four corners of the car, and I'll show you what the other ones look like. Okay, so just a quick note. I don't think I said this in one of my earlier videos when I started doing the brake lines, but I found that these nuts are size 11 mil. Unlike most cars, which they're either going to be a 10 or a 12. For some reason this one seems to be 11, so there's an 11 here. This is an 11, and then pretty much all of these hard lines on the car will be 11, so make sure you have an 11 or you'll mar up your ends. Alright, so here you go. This is what the rear brake line looks when it comes in the kit. As you can see, that's a pressure fitting, that's a regular end. Sorry about the blurriness. And like I said, you just put them together. And when I put it on the car, I just left it loose like that. This way I could get the position of the head where I didn't bind the cable. So this will be the driver's side, and we'll move over there. A quick note, the front line has this bracket that's part of it. It does not look like you can take that off. So this was connected to the lower strut just to keep it out of the way. Depending on how the new line sits, I might use a zip tie or something just to pull it back. But that's the old line. And right there is where it used to sit. As you can see my finger right there. Alright, so once I put the brake line into the caliper and ran the thing, I noticed that the line was trying to point towards the rear of the car. And it was giving me a weird bend right in here. Let's see, you can see, oops, get out of the way, right below the thing. So all I did was pull the clip, loosen the nut, pull this down just a little bit so I could rotate the nut a little bit, take the kink out of it, and now I've got a nice loop, runs up and around and doesn't touch anything. So you may not want to tighten this down right away until at least you get the caliper all set up. Okay, so I don't know how much you can see. Alright, so what I do, this is the last one, driver's side. Okay, let's just get that off there. Alright. What I do is for the banjo bolt, I usually spray it with some brake clean just to get any dirt and stuff that I've accidentally got on the threads or inside the holes. Then I put the new crush washers on there. So it goes on like that. And then I put the other one on, so it should look something like that. New crush washer, banjo bolt. banjo bolt has a hole in it, so if you forget to take off this upper copper one, you're not going to be lined up and your brake line's not going to work properly. So make sure that you remove all the old ones. If not, you will have all sorts of problems. Alright, let's see here. And the hardest part about this, trying to see where the hole is. There we go. Alright. So what I didn't show on the passenger side when I did this, see how the line is wanting to wrap towards the rear of the car? The easiest way to fix that is just drop this down a little bit, turn this, and there you go. So you just pull it down, turn the nut, push it back up, and then you should be able to have a nice set of arcs that clear all of your stuff. Pretty simple. And then we'll take our number 11. So now we just have to tighten up the side on the brake caliper, and then we can start bleeding the brakes through with our new brake fluid. Alright, so the next little step here is we're going to fill the brake bleeder canister with some brand new .4. It's set up, this is a pressurized system, so the fluid goes in through the top, through this container. This way you can do it by yourself, and then you can just open the valves at each corner. You put the fluid in, apply some pressure, and then you just bleed it. Alright, so I'm going to get this set up and get to bleeding. So I'm using the Summit brand .4 racing fluid. These are two brand new containers. It's kind of a goldish color, not clear like .3 usually is. So next I'm going to put the pressure cap back on and get this going. Okay, so the system is holding air at about 7 psi. This pair of needle nose is just holding weight in this bucket so that I can manipulate that. And then you can see that. It's really hard to tell, but there are some very teeny tiny bubbles. Some of those bubbles that might be coming from where it's slipping off the tube there, but you can see it's filling up. Alright, so I let that drain for a few seconds, and about 30 or so. So as you can see, there are no bubbles in the hose whatsoever. So my container's starting to get a little full. Well, not even. So off to the passenger side rear next, or I mean the driver's side rear. I'm doing the passenger side now. So always start from the furthest brake from the brake master. Alright, so I put some of the brake clean in this bottle. I'm just going to wipe this down where I might have touched it with greasy fingers. Just in case. Backside, don't have to really worry about it too much. And now we can put the wheel on. cars back on the ground. I'll torque them. But apparently first I need to turn on my air gun. Alright, take two. Let's see if it works now. Alright, one wheel down, 3 to go. Alright, so the wheels are back on. One last thing to do before you put the car back on the ground and check it is you're going to want to double check all of your brake lines you did, and anything like in the front, your ABS lines. You want to make sure they're not making contact anywhere with the tire. On the front, I zip tied around the strut to pull everything up out of the way. And here, you can see we've got all sorts of room, and we're not going to come in contact even when the wheel makes full travel. Let's check the other ones and see where we're at. Well, Houston, we have a slight problem. Driver's side rear brake line is rubbing on the wheel right here. So I'm going to loosen this nut right here and change the angle in which this line is pointing and see if we can move it. Now the only problem is there's not enough room for me to get back in there. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this wheel back off real quick so that I can readjust that. So 1 second while I do that. Alright, so as you can see, I changed the angle in which the elbow is pointing so that it's actually pointing more down towards the rear of the car. And by just backing off just enough tension on this, it didn't leak. There's no fluid coming out. And I was able just to turn that and then tighten that back down. So shouldn't have to re-bleed because we shouldn't have introduced any air in the system because we didn't have any leaks. And now it's all tight again. I will put the wheel back on and double check and make sure that this line is completely out of the way. And if it is, then I can go ahead and start taking the car off the jack stand. Both the fronts were fine. The passenger rear was fine. It was just, guess I didn't pay attention when I was doing the driver's side that didn't realize that that was pointing in the wrong direction. So you just want to have enough room so you're not rubbing up against your parking brake or anything like that, which we're not. I got a lot of fingers with there. This pulls down so we're clear. So we'll put the wheel back on and make sure that we're not rubbing in here like we were, and we should be good to go. Alright, as you can see, we are clear of the tire. I know it looks like we're tighter there, but I've got over a hand's width. The wheel will move up and down, that will move up out of the way. And yeah, so we are pretty good. There's a better angle. You can see how much clearance we actually have. Now, if I really was concerned, I guess I could maybe put an eyelet on that bolt so I could pull a little zip tie in here just to give myself a little bit of tension, but I really don't think we need it. I'm going to drive around here for a couple of days, and then before my next track day in July, I will pull the wheels and stuff back off and double check everything like I always do. But yeah, I'll just keep an eye on this for a few days and make sure that I don't have any rubbing, but other than that, we're good to go. Alright, next step, put the car back on the ground, torque all the wheels down.